So the 10th anniversary edition of Fallout 4 released this week, and it ain't going so well. Hello, my gaming brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am Jonathan, your host here at QuickBird Gaming, and I appreciate you tuning in for another weekly news wrap-up where we cover all the gaming news of the past week. This episode is going to cover the news from 9 to 15 November, and we got a whole lot to talk about. It has been a busy news week. We've got a lot of interesting news coming out of Valve. We got Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is out there stumbling while Arc Raiders is continuing to soar. And we finally got some sales figures from Ghost of Yotei. Before we get to all that, though, we've got to talk about our cover story. As a reminder, all of the stories that I'm covering are linked with the timestamps down in the description, so feel free to jump down there and hit up a story that really interests you. Now that we got the preliminaries out of the way, we got to talk about the mess that is the Fallout 4 10th Anniversary Edition, and it is a mess. All right, I'm going to preface this segment by stating that I have never made a secret of my love of the Fallout franchise. It is my favorite franchise out there in video games that I've ever played. And I know it's fashionable to bag on Fallout 4, has been since it released, which is fine. You know, it's not for everybody, but I really enjoyed it, still enjoyed it, still played it. I've got the merch back here that kind of shows my loyalty to the franchise, and I've probably logged 1,000 hours in Fallout 4 since its release 10 years ago. Now, having said that, I have been one of many players that has already or has been losing faith in Bethesda to move this franchise forward, this and the Elder Scrolls franchise. And for me, this is personally probably my last straw. I'll start with this IGN article from Tuesday, the 11th of November. Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition sparks backlash as disgruntled fans use Steam reviews to express their disappointment. They said that the Anniversary Edition was meant to act as a celebration of the game's 10th birthday, but as it turns out that things haven't gone exactly to plan. Now, see, this is where they're saying they're charging $60 for this anniversary update. This is for the base game, the 6 official DLCs, and 150 Creation Club items that are paid mods. I haven't seen what's in the Creation Club set, but I am going to go out on a limb here and say, sight unseen, I bet I can get just as good a mods off of Nexus mods as I can out of this Creation Club. Yeah, maybe I can't get a particular color of power armor or something, but just as general content, I bet there's just as good of free mods out there, at least right now. You know, well, there were until the anniversary destroyed all the mods or made them incompatible. But I guarantee you the mods out there are just as good as what they're trying to sell you. And they're trying to sell you that for $20. The Fallout 4, okay, upgrade. No, that's the Game of the Year edition is priced at $40. And that is the base game plus the 6 DLCs. And then the Anniversary Edition is another $20 for the Creation Club kit, which you can buy separately. But here's the rub to me. You can buy the Game of the Year edition. Most of the time it goes on sale on Steam and Good Old Games for $15 during their holiday sales, their sales periods. So for $15, it's less than half the current price, and it's a quarter of the price of this anniversary edition. And I mean, by Bethesda terms and Creation Club engine standards, it was pretty stable, the Game of the Year edition. Plus, you had this field of thousands and thousands of mods to work with. Bethesda, I kind of understand where Bethesda is coming from with this, because they haven't released an Elder Scrolls game in 14 years, and I'm not counting ESO. They haven't released a Fallout game in 10 years, and I'm not counting Fallout 76. Those are different animals. So they are trying to milk every cent they can out of this franchise. The Fallout TV show, the first season was received real well. The second one is due out in about a month, so they were trying to line this up and build hype for it. Unfortunately, this ain't it, fam, as the saying goes, because they didn't do it very well. The implementation was exceedingly flawed because this game broke previous mods. It created instability, and it gets worse than that. I'll go over here to Games Radar from Thursday the 13th of November. They say as Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition crashes and burns on arrival, Bethesda responds to reports of DLC no longer being recognized as owned by the players. And you can read this article, but basically it says just that people were literally reporting that as the anniversary update patch was applied or the anniversary edition was operated, the game was telling you, oh, you don't own that DLC now. In some cases, people that had the DLC in their library, the game didn't recognize it. Now, I'm not a programmer, but this seems like, basic fucking steps to get right when you update a game is not to wipe out the old content that people have paid for. This is all very extremely frustrating. And of course, the players are taking it out. You can go to the Fallout 4 Steam page. And if you can't see this, 35% of the reviews are showing up as positive for recent reviews the last 30 days. And most of them will come in the last couple of days since this has released. That means 1 out of 3 players, 2 out of 3 players are saying it's bad. 1 out of 3 is giving it a thumbs up. At this point, as much as I love Fallout and as much as I enjoyed Elder Scrolls, Skyrim, and Oblivion, I cannot support Bethesda anymore. I think the best thing that could happen to these franchises is to have them sold off to another studio, and maybe Microsoft should shut Bethesda down at this point and sell these franchises off and let somebody else take a whack at it. And no, I don't mean Obsidian. I know they did great with New Vegas, but they're not the same company they were either. That's the only way these franchises are going to thrive at this point, because under Bethesda, they're not releasing games. They're just trying to, they're taking the Al Bundy approach, still living off their glory days from high school, rather than doing anything further with their life. And they're just keep trying to use these games over and over to make a quick buck without actually doing anything current. There was a time when, you'd release Morrowind, you'd release Oblivion, you'd release Skyrim, all within like a 7-year span. You released Fallout 3, you released New Vegas, you released Fallout 5 within about an 8 or 9 year span. You just keep putting out, they don't even have to be perfect games, above average games. And as bad as the creation engine is in terms of stability with crashes and the bad physics and everything else, people love the lore and they love the games. You could keep putting out above average games just in general and keep making money. But I guess it's easier to just keep, it's almost like Naughty Dog and Bethesda are in an arms race to see who can re-release and re-release and re-release platinum version, platinum diamond version of their games. Whether it's Skyrim and Fallout or Last of Us. Keep remastering, re-releasing. Exceedingly frustrating. And like I said, I don't think I can really support this anymore. I will, as much as I enjoy this franchise, I won't be buying Skyrim or Fallout 5, not Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5 if they release in my lifetime. I'm starting to get to the point where now, even though I'm just in middle age, I'm starting to wonder if I'll be dead before these games ever see the light of day, the next ones in the series. So, but even if they come out, I won't be buying them for at least a year after they release, and because I want to see what other people have to say. And that's really the only thing we can do is, as I tell people, you have to vote with your dollar and do what you think is right. And for me, what's right is walking away from hoping this franchise ever improves. There's just too many other games out there that are doing good work that deserve my attention. And even though Fallout has been one of my favorite franchises, it's about time for me to put it in the past. Okay, now that we'll put that unpleasantness behind us and move on to something else. And this, I think, is kind of an interesting topic. We got a couple of news bits from Valve, both of which are intriguing. One of which is official, the other isn't, but let's get into that. We'll start with this Engadget article from Wednesday the 12th. Valve announces new Steam machine and Steam controller, with a picture of the Steam machine there. It says they're making another run at offering a console experience in your living room. The company has announced a Steam machine and Steam controller that lets you play PC games on your TV, the same way the Steam Deck lets you play them on the go. Planning to release them both early 2026. Okay, it talks a little bit about the specs there. Roughly, Valve says the Steam machine has roughly 6 times the horsepower of the Steam Deck and is capable of supporting 4K gaming at 60 FPS. So this to me is really interesting because I think it's there's been rumors that Valve is kind of trying to get into the console market. Technically, this seems like it's a mid-range PC substitute more than directly a console, just based on the specs. And we have no word on the pricing yet, so there's no idea what this is going to cost. We have no idea what this is going to cost. But I think it is interesting that Steam is taking this step. We still have no word on a Steam Deck 2 yet, which is concerning. I was hoping we'd see something about that. But it almost feels like they're stepping into the void that Xbox is abandoning. I know Xbox technically hasn't abandoned their hardware branch and their console, but they're also talking about making console gaming an upscale experience. And Valve may just be looking at this and saying nature abhors a vacuum. And if we flip over to this Insider Gaming article from Thursday, the 13th of November, it says unannounced Valve game listing fuels Half-Life 3 speculation. Okay, it says the hype has continued to grow and so on and so forth. Then it gets down in the article, it says Valve has an unannounced upcoming release. If you go to Steam, search for any Valve game, then click on the company's name, you'll be taken to the main page. From here, a simple scroll takes you down to the company's existing and upcoming portfolio. Clicking on upcoming release reveals 4 products. Basically, Deadlock, the controller, the frame, and the machine. All exciting. However, if you look at the all label, it clearly says 5 and only 4 products are displayed. Their writer says this is more likely isn't an accident. It suggests Valve has another product or game in the works. So naturally, people are running away with that and saying, it's finally going to be time for Half-Life 3, and they're just going to bust out with an announcement on it. That speculation is backed up by this Games Rant article from, I think this is actually from, I didn't refresh. I think this is from Friday. Yes, from Friday the 14th of November. It says if a new rumor is true, Half-Life 3 may become a reality. The official announcement may be only a few short weeks away. All rumors should be taken with a heavy grain of salt. Absolutely. And then it gets down to this Reddit post. Valve is still aiming for 2025 with the Half-Life 3 announcement, according to Gabe Follower. So we have this vague and anonymous, vague and nebulous Steam data and a single post on Reddit pushing this forward. But a Half-Life 3 game would be amazing. And I would welcome it in light of the last story I just covered, because I would love to roll my energy into something, new. Not that Half-Life is new. Okay, next we have kind of a contrasting tale of 2 different shooters and things that have happened this week. I'll start with this Video Games Chronicle article from Friday, the 14th of November. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 can't be paused during single player and requires an online connection at all times.
What the fuck are you talking about, man?
No, that's you didn't mishear that. Okay, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 was released on Friday, so yesterday as of the making of this video, bringing with it new multiplayer suite, zombie refresh, and so on, pretty much standard COD fare. Upon release of the game, players have discovered the game's single-player portion can't be paused, even if there is only one person playing. Also including the game's single-player missions don't have checkpoints, meaning any progress made during a mission is lost unless it's completed in one sitting. What complicates this further is that CoD Black Ops 7 requires a constant online connection when playing the single-player campaign, meaning if your internet drops for any reason, all current progress will be lost. They're out of their goddamn minds, I swear. This is one of the most player-unfriendly setups I have heard of in a long time. And I'm not the only one. I skip over here to Games Radar. It was also published on Friday the 14th. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 gets mixed Steam reviews as players share disbelief over the new FPS's ludicrous campaign, performance issues, and more. This shit is literally a playable skibbity toilet video. I couldn't probably write a more descriptive characterization if I had a week to do it. Basically, they're saying that this is just not going well. Only need consult the Steam reviews. It's currently sitting at a mixed rating, and last time I looked, it was about 45% positive. For insight, you can't even pause the campaign because it's designed like Warzone. It's a disaster. They messed everything up. The game kicks you for going AFK in campaign mode. It kicks you. If you resubmit the level, it makes you start from scratch. Stuttering, crashing if Alt tab, mouse feels super floaty, and on and on and on. Just all of these problems that it's having. Now, I get that the score and the reviews on Steam probably aren't representative because I would expect that the bulk the majority of the players in this game are playing it through Game Pass, still, as a sample size, this ain't going so well. On the other hand, if you want to look at a shooter that's enjoying a lot of success right now, you need to look no further than Arc Raiders. And this Dual Shockers article from Monday, the 10th of November, says Arc Raiders hit 700,000 player peak this weekend. Embark Studios announced the game has reached over 700,000 concurrent players, meaning over 500,000 people have been getting decimated by robots. And here's the tweet that they showed there. So having almost 750,000 people playing the game at the same time, to me, that's really amazing considering the hegemony that games like CoD and Fortnite have had over this space for so long. To have somebody muscle their way in there and claim a good portion of the player base is remarkable. Yeah, I know it's only been out for a week or a week and a half, but it's also actually sustaining itself fairly well. There hasn't been a sharp drop-off, mostly because it hasn't been plagued with the kind of problems that I just covered in a game like Call of Duty. And it's actively adding ways to improve its experience. This article also from Dual Shockers, but this was published on Wednesday, the 12th. Arc Raiders duo queues are now finally available today, meaning you can queue up with a friend and guarantee you'll both get into the same match. Things like this that they're adding, and this is, again, a week and a half, 2 weeks after, they've added this feature. They're actively finding ways to make the game better, which was already working pretty well in the first place. So, when you compare the experiences players are having between Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and Arc Raiders, based on player feedback, it's pretty clear that people are enjoying Arc Raiders better. The sad thing is, at the end of the day, I bet Call of Duty Black Ops 7 sells more copies than Arc Raiders, because unfortunately that's just the nature of the gaming world we live in right now. All right, next up is a subject I wasn't going to talk about until we actually had some official sales numbers, and now that we do, we can discuss this. And this is an article from Video Games Chronicle from Tuesday, the 11th of November. Ghost of Yotei sold 3.3 million copies in a month, Sony says, that it compares favorably to its predecessor. The sales figure was shared during Sony's latest financial results and likely puts Yotei roughly in line with the sales of its predecessor, Ghost of Tsushima, and then it breaks down a little bit about what those sales figures mean according to their analysis. Like I said, I've been waiting before this because we've heard so much rumor and so much innuendo and so much, trust me, bro. But now we actually have a solid sales figure. And I'm not super surprised. I figured the game would do fairly well. All the controversy that surrounded it, I will always wonder if they couldn't have sold, 4 million copies instead of 3.3, something to that effect. But the bottom line is, it appears that they did pretty well. I'm just somebody who says as games developers should avoid controversy because I think it's always going to hurt. It's just the degree of hurt that's going to be the issue. I do think this is interesting because I have watched for the last month people twisting the narrative around this, and even now this says we get 3.3 million copies, and I can see the people that had beef with this game, they're trying to use this number and spin it in a way that makes it look like it's not doing that well, and the people who had beef with those who had beef are saying that it's this is a validation of the game doing well and they should all shut up and so on and so forth. It's amazing how people can read a statistic and warp it to fit their own narrative. But I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. People have been doing this forever. I didn't really, like I've said many times, I didn't really have a dog in this fight. Me being a PC player, this game isn't on PC, and it'll probably be ported in a year. But I wasn't going to be playing it up front anyway. But it seems like there was something in the gameplay that people liked, and there you go. I'd say 3.3 million copies. I'd say it did well. I wouldn't call it a blockbuster. I also would certainly not a failure. If the rumored dev cost, which I've seen, the amount that they spent on development was in the $60 to $70 million range, with marketing, Sony and Sucker Punch probably pocketed a tidy sum. I have no idea what the sales tail on this will be stretching out over the years. I want to say Ghost of Tsushima sold something in the neighborhood of 13 or 14 million copies all told. And we'll see if Yotei has that kind of tail. maybe it will, maybe it won't. I suspect the people who are telling you one way or the other, they're just making their own guess. They don't know. A lot of things can happen. There are a lot of games coming out that may draw attention away from it over time, and we'll just kind of see. But anyway, so finally, official sales numbers that we have. We have 3.3 million copies sold, and good for them. Okay, here I want to contrast what I was talking about in my previous segment. If you skipped ahead via clicking a timestamp, in the previous segment, I was talking about the sales for Ghost of Yotei that were officially announced and how I think the game, despite a lot of its controversy, had done fairly well because it's probably a game players enjoy. Now, Ubisoft is a company that has also had a lot of controversy surrounding its games. Unfortunately, it's not making games that players enjoy, and that's part of the problem. You could almost draw a direct line between Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ghost of Yotei, and you can see where one failed and one didn't. And I'm going to point to this article from Game Rant. This is from Friday, the 14th of November. New Splinter Cell game was scrapped and turned into XDefiant. Now, if you don't know, XDefiant was their team shooter that Ubisoft released last year in 2024. It came roaring out of the gate, but tailed off so fast they pretty much abandoned it by the end of the year. And I'm not sure if it's still running. I think it may be shut down all the way. So they said, and the article says, a new report reveals that Ubisoft's Splinter Cell franchise was going to get a brand new entry before the company shifted the project to take advantage of games as a service model to spawn the ill-fated XDefiant. Okay, fans of Sam Fisher and the Splinter Cell series are on a seemingly endless wait. The last mainline entry launched in 2013, so it's another one that's a decade old without getting anywhere. Ubisoft, along with a lot of other companies, has been chasing that live service model to try and keep games coming in. Again, like I alluded to earlier in the video, chasing that Fortnite money, chasing that COD money, and it's just not working out very well for them. So the chance to get a new Splinter Cell game was lost here. Now, if I remember correctly, Splinter Cell, along with Rainbow Six and Assassin's Creed, was one of the IPs that is shipped over to Vantage, the new collaboration between Ubisoft and Tencent. So that may be good news or bad news, but this seemed like a lost opportunity. Now, this is not the only thing that Ubisoft is suffering for right now. I'm going to go to this Insider Gaming article from Thursday, the 13th of November. They delay their earnings report, halt shares trading minutes before the release. And the article says it's no longer delaying games, it's delaying earnings reports. Just minutes before it was scheduled to release, it was to announce the first half earnings for fiscal year 25-26. The company announced it was postponing its call. In addition to the postponement of the results, Ubisoft announced it had requested Euronext to halt trading of company shares. Now, you don't have to know a lot about the financial market to know that both of those things, delaying an earnings call and trying to freeze your stock trading, are signs that shit is about to hit the fan. Ubisoft may be on the verge of falling apart here at this point. And what can we say? Like I said a minute ago, you can draw a line between Assassin's Creed Shadows and Ghost of Yotei. Very similar games in the sense that they are of their setting and their kind of gameplay style. I know it's not a direct analog, so don't come at me with that. I understand that. But they are similar in that they're kind of action-adventure games, both set in that Japanese, both featuring a female protagonist. But I think the key difference here was, like I alluded to in the Yotei segment, the rumored production cost for that development cost were $60-ish million, whereas for AC Shadows, it ranges 4 to 5 times that, maybe, possibly. And that's the difference between a successful game and a not successful game. That's the difference between Sony and Sucker Punch pocketing their profit and Ubisoft having to freeze their stock trading. I think this company is screwed. And I think we're just going to see how screwed is the days in the next coming days. I'm going to stay with Insider Gaming for this article that was published today on Saturday, the 15th of November. Concord has been effectively shut down by Sony for a second time. You know, used to be you could only kill something once. Seems in the video game industry, you can kill a game or a service many times over. And it says Concord, okay, it's gone down as infamy. We know the background about Concord. And it says down here, we reported on November 14th, so yesterday on Friday, that Concord got a playable fan-made revival on PC. Users cleverly managed to get custom Concord servers up and running, requiring special access to let you play. Now, I'm going to be straight. Concord was not a game for me. It was nothing that interested me for various reasons. Aside from the footage I saw, it just didn't look that fun. I'm not a multiplayer team shooter. But there were some people who liked it, and I said more power to them if they wanted to play it. Unfortunately, not enough did. You know, it's a cautionary tale of bloated development and underperformance. The game is. But if some people wanted to get it running, I'm like, yeah, you guys go knock yourselves out. Unfortunately, it says what seemed like innocent fun has quickly turned into the gaze of Sony being cast upon them. A dev post in the Concord Delta Discord updated everyone with this development. Due to worrying legal action, we've decided to pause invites for the time being. It occurs that gameplay videos of the Concord project had made their way to YouTube, followed by DMCA action imposed by Mark Scan, a name that works a lot on Sony's behalf. So, you know, I have the same thing I always say in these type of situations. I'm of two minds. I understand Sony wants to protect their IP that they invested into. They spent a ton of money on and bought Firewalk Studios only to scrap it when this didn't work. And they own it, so they want to protect it. On the other hand, what good does it do if it's sitting there doing nothing? Maybe they are planning on reviving it. I know some people have talked about that. There's been no discussion, and if Sony is planning on reviving it, they're keeping that secret very well hidden. So we'll see. You know, a lot of people have said bring it out as a free-to-play game, and maybe it would do better. Who the hell knows what they're doing? Or maybe they're just saying, look, this is ours. We don't want anybody using it. So it's been killed a second time, and only time will tell if it stays dead. Okay, I have a couple more things I'm just real briefly going to cover. I look at this Eurogamer article from Friday the 14th of November. Tomb Raider developer Crystal Dynamics announces yet another round of layoffs. This has just become standard operating procedure in the gaming industry in the last couple of years. People are getting laid off. It's worrying because we're now sitting at, I think, 7 years past the last Tomb Raider game. No telling what the next one's going to look like. Embracer is, another one of these companies that gobbled up all these studios, and a lot of things have languished underneath them. The article basically says that they parted way with just under 30 employees. They call it part of restructuring for our next generation, whatever the hell that means. The developer cited the next entry of Tomb Raider series, which they're working on with Amazon, as part of the reason for its decision. That they're working on this with Amazon fills me with zero confidence. I thought the Amazon animated series of Tomb Raider was utter trash. And it's too bad because, again, it's not quite as favorite of mine as Fallout and some other franchises are, but I really liked the Tomb Raider franchise, especially the reboot trilogy. The first game was great. The second game was one of my favorite games. The third game was okay. It was getting a little stale by then. So I am leery about the future of the next one. But okay, layoffs. You know, it's the day that ends with Y, right? Along with the last segment, which I filed under the I don't know how this is going to go folder, I put this article in the same place. This is from PC Gamer, which was published on Thursday the 13th of November. Horizon Steel Frontiers is an MMO based on the PlayStation series, and it's coming to PC and mobile. I started writing a computer game 20 some years ago called Steel Frontier. That's interesting. I guess the name wouldn't have stayed free forever. So Guerrilla Games and NCSoft have announced that Horizon Steel Frontiers, an MMO take on the PlayStation Open World series about taking down huge robo-dinosaurs in a lush, post-apocalypse similar to the mainline games, which will be set in Arizona and New Mexico. I think I didn't play Forbidden West. I only played New Dawn. I want to say that was set Colorado, Utah-ish area. Curiously, Steel Frontiers is concerned for PC, Android, and iOS, but not the PS5. They say based on footage, it looks pretty good for a mobile game. And okay, yada yada yada. It's going to be an MMO. Player will be sharing the frontier with thousands of other players. And they say no word yet on Horizon Steel Frontiers when it will release, whether it will be a paid affair or free to play. based on what we know about mobile gaming, I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that it's probably going to be free to play. It's probably going to be choked with microtransactions. This is based on just mobile gaming in general and NCSoft being involved. So that's probably what we're expecting here. The fact that it's not going to be on the PlayStation is interesting. I don't know if that's a political decision by PlayStation or a technical issue. No clue. But anyway, this is coming. If you like Horizon, keep your eyes open for it. All right. Well, we had a lot of downer news in this episode, so I wanted to finish with something that was a little more uplifting, and that's this article from PC Games In, which was published on Thursday the 13th of November. Is Dispatch Season 2 happening? Here's what Aaron Paul and Ad Hoc have to say as the Season 1 finale sends player count soaring. Now, this is a game I really wasn't aware of. I had just seen a few people talk about it. However, after reading this article, I went and checked it out, and it looks like it might be interesting. Okay, the writer author talks about Dispatch. It says, if you haven't heard of it, it's a new episodic superhero game from Ad Hoc Studio, a team comprised of some Telltale Games veterans. Telltale Games, obviously, of things like Walking Dead and A Wolf Among Us, which is one of my favorite video, narrative adventure novel type games. It's been in the works for a while, but landed with its first of its weekly episode drops last month, and it's become part management sim, part choice driven RPG. You're thrust into the rather scruffy shoes of Robert Robertson, a former hero tasked with rehabilitating a group of villains. As a hero dispatcher, you send them on various missions behind your computer. You'll have to learn their synergies, level up their abilities, and hack into different systems to make their lives easier. So it sounds kind of interesting. It was rolling out 2 episodes at a time, and there was a spike when you got to the end here. I'm going to go over to Steam database and look here, and when I refresh, it peaked up to 200,000 concurrent players when it happened. And see, this is what I love, man. This is what I really enjoy seeing. This it's still doing 40 or 50,000 players for a first release for a narrative kind of adventure game. And from what I read, Ad Hoc has got like 30 to 40 employees, developers working there. It's a small studio, a core studio that's doing this work, and that's kind of neat. They just they put out this game, and it's gotten a little bit of viral success lately. And if you look at it on Steam, it's got a 97% positive rating. That ought to tell you that people are really enjoying it. I'm gonna go back to this article, and it says, seems like a lot of people agree with me regarding having a second season. You come down here. Ad Hoc has already hinted at it, with the CEO telling friends per second podcast, we're going to have to at least think about a season 2. That was a question mark 3 weeks ago, so that's great. It's a cool problem to have. I 100% agree, and I love the fact that because the community and the gamers have responded to this, they're now thinking about doing more content for it. It's a win all the way around. And then this has been compounded by Breaking Bad's Aaron Paul, who plays Robert Robertson, the main character, who told Variety the door is definitely ajar for more Dispatch. With good storytelling, there's always room. So I wish everybody involved here success. I love indie game success stories, and that people are loving this game. And to me, that's great. I hope they do a second season and it keeps going well. All right, y'all. I'm gonna leave this one here. This is probably enough for the week. I have to say I'm still pretty disheartened about the way the Fallout 4 thing has gone. And the anniversary edition, just what an absolute mess. And I can't believe it's broken all the mods again. We went through this last year with the high res update, and it really made a mess of things. I've got one more video of footage I've already recorded for Fallout, and I've got another one planned. And after that, I may still make some content for Fallout 4 from time to time, but my motivation to get it running and get it going has taken a hit, pretty significant hit. And that's just pretty disappointing. I keep looking for other things that will replace it. In fact, I'm playing Expedition 33 right now. It's a good game. I really enjoy it. I don't know if it will have the staying power to replace something like Fallout once I get through it. Once you're through it, you're through it. There's not a whole lot to see in subsequent playthroughs. But I will say it's an excellent game. And if you haven't checked it out and you enjoy RPGs, turn-based RPGs, JRPGs at all, I would very much recommend trying Expedition 33. But all that's neither here nor there. Just a lot of stuff going on right now, and as usual, I keep looking towards the indie scene to try and find things that will keep us all sane and playing things we enjoy. But anyway, thank you all for tuning into the video. I really appreciate that. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please consider liking the video. Drop it, if you think I've earned your subscription, I would love to have that. And if you have any comments on anything I covered, if you think I missed any major stories of the week or got something wrong, feel free to comment down below. And I do read all comments and try to answer them as I have time. So I appreciate when you do that. But I'm going to wrap this one up. I will be back next week with another news roundup. Also, I know the Game Awards are dropping their nominees on Monday the 17th, in about 2 days from the making of this video. I will probably walk through them and offer my predictions for who's going to win. Not necessarily who I think should win, but who I think will win. But I'll get to that early next week, and we'll see how that goes. In the meantime, thank you once again for tuning in. You all go out there, live your best lives, and you all stay gaming.